welcome into another episode of Cornhusker Connection. I'm Brandon Shanahan, joined with Tyler Sprinkle and Brooke Byrne. Another week, and I'm kind of at the point in the cycle where I'm believing that Nebraska's back again. It seems like Sundays, I'm like they're never going to win a football game again, and usually by Thursday, Friday, I'm like, you know what, we're fucking back. We just get one win this week, and we're right there. We're rolling. Beat Northern Illinois this week. Beat whoever we got next week.
Louisiana Tech,
beat La Tech, and then boom. We take down Michigan in the next week. So that's about where I'm at. How you guys feeling?
I'm right there with you, buddy.
Nervous. I'm really nervous we're going to lose this week.
No way. No shot. We got to be 2-2. We got to be 2-2.
I mean, got
2 games. We have to.
I just need you to accept the fact that there's a very real scenario in which we are 0-3.
Well, I mean, there's always that real scenario with Nebraska, but I don't believe it. I don't buy into that shit. I'm a true fan. I don't have a big old dumpy in my pants like old Brooke over there. I'm ready to rock and roll with Nebraska this week. Come on, Skurs.
You know, and my thing is that, yeah, Nebraska could absolutely lose, but, like, it's a lot more fun to be delusional. It's a lot more better on my mental health.
If I wasn't Tyler's friend, I would point out that's why he's like 2-10 on bets. But since I'm his friend, I won't point that out. So
sure, well, I appreciate you not pointing that out. Thank you. Hey, Brandon, go ahead and cut that. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll just cut that out. We'll just dub over it, talking about how great Tyler Sprinkle is.
But since we're friends, we won't.
I appreciate that.
Oh,
so perfect.
Well, Zimbabwe.
Yeah, getting her started. So let's get started with this. What do you guys know about Northern Illinois?
So I do know that they went into Boston College and beat them, and you might be saying we're better than Boston College, but I don't know that we are.
I mean, it's not a guarantee.
They are no stranger to beating Power 5 teams. What was it, 2016 they beat us? With Tanner Lee.
That was a tough game. I do remember that.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. As far as like Group of 5 teams go, they're kind of tricky. It seems like a program that kind of gets up for these kind of games in a way that Michigan has a way of, avoiding, as far as teams that can come up and bite you like this. But overall, I mean, top to bottom, it doesn't.
So you
seem
can
like
say whatever you want about them beating Boston College, but then they lose to Southern Illinois. I mean,
I forgot about that. They did lose to an FCS team. So yeah, I mean, two ends of the spectrum there. They beat a Power 5 team and then lose to an FCS team, which is.
But their quarterback has an all-time name, Rocky Lombardi.
We played him like 4 years ago. He started for Michigan State, that 9-6 game in the snow.
Oh yeah.
He was at Northern Illinois, transferred to Michigan State for a year or two, and then now is like back at Northern Illinois for his 6th or 7th year, something crazy like that.
Yeah. So against Southern Illinois, just a little stat line for you, went 23 for 38, 297 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 INTs. So keep that in mind for the game.
You got to think we're going to dominate them on defense and hopefully in the trenches, but
yeah, I mean, you really hope that's kind of a given at this point. But they are an experienced team. They bring back 17 starters from last year. Granted, a team that only won 3 games. So take that with a grain of salt. They're not bringing back the Harlem Globetrotters here. But these are the kind of games that they can kind of get after you. But, yeah, like you said, if they don't score any points, they can't beat us.
I do really like their coach, Thomas something. It's escaping me. Hammock, yes, thank you. I do like him a lot. I knew the injury bug did jump up and bite them more than most last year, and they're getting some older guys back, which is probably why they went in and competed with Boston College. But losing to Southern Illinois is definitely inexcusable.
But I got to imagine, I don't know what city Northern Illinois is, but I'm sure they'd be just fine with the 2-1 record after beating Boston College in Nebraska.
Absolutely.
It's not going to happen, though.
I hope
no
not.
shot.
And so what does the offense have to look like to win? Because obviously I can't imagine Northern Illinois lighting up the scoreboard. So the offense does have to do something to find points, unless the defense just turns into Iowa and finds pick sixes and blocks punts and gets defensive.
Well, it's one thing. We just cannot turn the ball over. If we don't turn the ball over, we win. But if we're sitting there at the end of the game with 3 turnovers and Northern Illinois has a bunch of short fields, it's going to get dicey.
And I'm sure we'll talk about this a little more in depth a little later, about the actual Nebraska team that we're throwing out there on Saturday. But the perfect game plan to me is just for the offense to look like they're in a rhythm, because we have yet to see that this year. And lots of runs, using play action a lot more, and moving the pocket, because our offensive line, yes, it's better this year, but it's still not good. And I know it's Northern Illinois, so you shouldn't have a problem with that, but I want to start getting used to that play style. Like, start rolling out a little bit more. Start throwing the ball deep. Like, we don't do that. It's always these 5-6 yard. And it's so easy for them to cover 10 yards and nobody's running down the field. So those are the things that I would like to see on offense next game.
I do really agree with that. We need to start taking some shots and with big plays, and not just on the ground. Like, obviously you want Gabe Irvin to get his 20 touches and Sims carry the ball 5 to 10 times, but we got to start getting the tight ends and receivers more love.
Yeah, and I feel like to Matt Rule's credit, they've had a bit of a rough draw. They're the only Power 5 team to play 2 Power 5 opponents on the road. And especially with the first-year head coach, you see those as winnable games. So you're just trying to, what do we have to do to win these games? What do we have to do to put these guys in a good enough spot to win? And I feel like that takes away from some of the ability to stretch the field, to kind of take chances, to really try to see how explosive this offense can be, because you're really just trying to, I don't know, kind of play a more conservative style to stay in the game. And I think this is the perfect opportunity for that. Now, it does look like that we won't be getting Jeff Sims. He's been involved in practice, but they're still talking about him as unlikely for Saturday. So I think maybe that kind of takes away from the ability to kind of try to get into fifth gear with this offense. But we've seen it all the time with backup quarterbacks come in and they do kind of have that more conservative style. They kind of tailor the plays to get him into a rhythm, whether it's Heinrich or Purdy, and just getting them comfortable, getting them into a rhythm. I think we'll see plenty of that. And I think that'll be good enough to beat Illinois. But like you said, turning the ball over, it can't happen. And even if we are good enough to overcome that against Northern Illinois, this has to be a get-right game for sure.
And my biggest thing with Sims not playing this week is, like you were kind of alluding to, Brandon, this is your 2 get-right games, which you would have hoped to start the season with instead of playing 2 Power 5 teams right away. It would be nice if Sims is out there this week and next week to, get the throwing stuff ironed out, ready for Michigan. But if he can't go, obviously you don't want to risk losing him for the rest of the year. But
so they haven't talked about him for sure being out yet, because they're still leaving some room, which I don't know how to feel about that. Like Brooke said, like, you don't want to lose him for the rest of the year. And I think one of his best assets is being able to run. And if he's not able to run, then I don't think you throw him out there, because that's his game is not a pocket passer. He's kind of a dual threat.
Yeah, I imagine that they know pretty well that he's not going to play. But when you don't rule him out, now Northern Illinois has to prepare for 3 quarterbacks as opposed to just 2 or 1. So I think that's kind of the cards that he's playing here. But, now that I've had some time to come down from this Jeff Sims and anti-Jeff Sims propaganda tour I've been on the last week, there is obviously something to say about Matt Rule being so loyal with him and so adamant about keeping him in the fold, and that he does see that this offense can hit another gear with him. And now, granted, we haven't seen a whole lot of that. We've seen a couple of busted defensive plays that have turned into points, and we've seen them move the ball okay at times. They still have more yards per play and more yards per game than Iowa, and they're a top 25 team allegedly. So I think that there's still something that he sees that we haven't gotten to yet. So I'm definitely in favor. It would be nice to get him in and get him some confident reps, but if he's not 100%, then there's no need to really throw him out there.
Yeah, Brandon, you and I were texting about it a little bit. Like, these are the two games that somebody new to the program, like, yeah, he's played 2 years of college football, but I keep saying, like, it's a different beast here in Nebraska, because it is. So these two games, to help build his confidence going into the tougher games, would have been really nice. And the fact that he's not going to have these games to build that confidence is a little worrisome to me. But hopefully the team as a whole gets that confidence boost that they need to continue to go through the season and get some wins.
And so it is Northern Illinois, so you kind of think, well, we'd like to get them. You know, it's kind of one of those scenarios where, is it just a straight up win? Does that feel good enough against Northern Illinois, or do we got to cover the 10.5 point spread?
I mean, right now, I think it's good enough for me.
I'll take.
I just want to see them look good.
Any way we can get it, even if it's ugly. I don't want to be 0-3 after this weekend. So even if it is ugly,
I'm not too far away from there. Yeah, because it is kind of assuring to know that we also have Louisiana Tech next week, to where we just got to figure out how to win a football game, I think. And I think next week maybe a little bit more pressure to kind of show out and kind of show the feathers a little bit more. But yeah, I'm absolutely right. Maybe 1-2 doesn't sound great if they win by a touchdown or one of those classic one possession games that they find a way to steal. But man, 0-3 would feel horrible.
0-3 would be time to press the panic button, because you have Michigan in 2 weeks, and you got to think best case scenario is 1-4 after week 5, and then you get into conference play. So,
yeah.
I mean, the more we sit here and talk about it, the more pressure I'm starting to feel, like, to win this game.
But the back end of our schedule does open up a little bit. To start the season, it didn't seem that way. But now, how the season is starting to shape up and how teams look, the Big Ten doesn't look all that scary without, some of the, I mean, obviously Michigan and Ohio State would be tough games, but even Illinois doesn't look that good.
No.
Michigan State, I don't even know what they're going to look like now. So it's not going to be an easy. I'm not going to sit here and say, well, these are automatic wins, but it's definitely a lot more doable than I thought it would be to start the year.
Yeah, like you said, the Big Ten West isn't what we thought it would be, with Wisconsin and Iowa on the back end. So hopefully now that between Purdue, Northwestern, and Illinois, we're either able to win all 3 or at least 2 of the 3. Feel like we need to, now that we went 0-2 to start the year. But
yeah, and then
the goal is still there to go to a bowl game. It's still on the table.
Yeah, and I know we're kind of talking about, like, Louisiana Tech isn't like we should win that game. They look like a pretty solid team this year too. So it could be, I see that being a tougher game, not necessarily losing that game, but being a tougher game. And then also this Northern Illinois game, I mean, it's a home opener. Like, I think there's going to be a lot of juice in the stadium. It's going to be tough for Northern Illinois to, do what they want, especially with all the noise and whatnot there. First home game of Matt Rule era. I think it's going to be an electric atmosphere. And I think that we come out looking good.
And I don't know if you guys hit on this while I was putting my cat in cat jail, but the schedule does look a lot more favorable down the stretch as things continue to unfold, whether that be Mel Tucker no longer being the coach at Michigan State, or Illinois looking like butt cheeks. I know that the schedule was never elite with being in the Big Ten West, but I mean, Iowa looks like same old Iowa. So if we can score 25 points, we'll run away with that one pretty well. So, yeah, I feel a lot better about the conference slate, but man, there's no good payout here. Like, even if we blow them out, it's like, oh, well, it's Northern Illinois. It is what it is. But man, how bad would 0-3 feel? especially to a team like Northern Illinois. You can excuse a conference loss on the road, or Colorado, who's way better than everybody anticipated. But man, Northern Illinois.
It's definitely a lose-lose scenario in which, like, if we win that game, people aren't going to bat an eyelash. But if we lose, then the panic button is getting a little more real, and to start the year 1-4 would be tough.
Yeah, and the best thing that we have going for us right now is that we are only 0-1 in the Big Ten. You know, we could be 0-2, but thankfully,
dude, realistically, like right now, like obviously we have Michigan and Maryland, Wisconsin, Iowa looming. We're not out of the Big Ten West race by any means.
Which we're getting a little ahead of ourselves, but that is the silver lining of our season so far.
I don't think it'll happen.
But you're absolutely right.
Yeah, it's not over is all I'm saying.
Yes.
Like crazier things have happened. Now there is no world in which I think we are good enough to win the West, but like as much as we're talking about doom as possible, there still is a lot of optimism, left on the table as well.
Yeah, because I don't know if there's a single team in the division that you can confidently say, oh, they look a lot better than I thought they would. It seems like a lot of disappointments. Even Wisconsin, who I felt was kind of the most talented team coming into the season, they didn't look very good in their first 2 weeks, of course, losing to Washington State.
Yeah, their quarterback, Mordecai, for a guy that's played college football for 6 years, seen a lot, is not playing as well as I thought and a lot of people thought.
So next thing I want to get into is our new edition of the rankings. It looks kind of funny, admittedly, compared to what the AP poll looks like, but I'm still pretty happy with it. Overall, and another reason why I'm so glad that we're only doing 10 instead of the full 25 is that this is what really matters, and this is almost kind of hard to get wrong. Well, let me share the screen here, but
Tyler found a way to do it.
It's his picks definitely did matter. I'll say that. So here we go. So number 1, Georgia, Michigan. Those are steady number 2. This is where Tyler's vote really kind of mattered. Texas at 3. It bumps Florida State down to 4. Then USC, and then the final 4 are pretty standard, except Alabama drops down to 10.
Brandon with Florida State at 1.
Oh. So I when I first did this, I had Georgia and Michigan first. But what I want my rankings to be is not just who do I think is the best team, because I do think Georgia and Michigan get the benefit of the doubt, but like who deserves it, who's earned it to this point. And I think both Florida State and Texas scheduling Power 5 teams, going on the road for Texas, going to a neutral site to play.
I mean, it was in Florida though, so it's a home game.
Well, okay, so they don't get credit for going on the road, but
Tyler, just listen. He's saying a lot of good things. You need to pay attention to.
And then just the way that they smacked that team, adjusted so well at halftime, 31-10 in the second half. I mean, that's that. I would much rather give them credit for doing that than give credit for Georgia and Michigan for what they did last year.
You hear that?
I disagree, but
sure. Well,
I digress. I think Texas being up there at number 3 for the pod is pretty good.
No,
I was about to say, I hope you feel good about that because you did that.
I think USC is kind of getting slept on a little bit. I think they're a much better team than what you guys have them at. I mean, yes, they haven't really done anything quite yet, scheduling wise, but they look like a good team.
Well, and that's like mine is kind of a mix of your two guys's, whereas like I want mine to reflect, like Brandon said, like what you have done to this point, but also a mix of like the eye test. Like in no world do I think Texas is better than Georgia and Michigan, but they've proved more up to this point, which is saying a lot. But
yes,
and to your point there, I wouldn't mind moving up USC to a 6th spot. I still like Penn State more than them, but and towards the bottom, I think things get interesting. I with Alabama and Ohio State, usually perennial top 5 teams, both kind of huff and air to stay in the top 10 there.
Yeah, and I think I would have liked to have Tennessee in the top 10 because they do look like a good team, but just last week they didn't show it. So I decided to bump them out of the top 10. I bumped Alabama out as well just because I think there are just better teams that have shown more than Alabama has this year. Washington makes me a little nervous, but I do think that Penix Jr. is obviously a Heisman candidate, so they look really good. I'm still running with Oregon at 7. Penn State, I mean, their offense looks great right now, and obviously they always have a good defense. So
my whole thing is I really wanted to take Ohio State out altogether because they haven't looked good, and they're only in the top 10 based off of projections and what people think they will be. And truthfully, like, I cannot wait for that matchup with Notre Dame because I don't think Notre Dame wins. I think they win by like double digits.
I can see that, absolutely.
I could see that as well.
It's fraudulent. So
yeah, I'm right there with you. I didn't feel good about keeping Ohio State in the top 10, but it just felt really dramatic to kick them out for not losing, but just not looking good. Where you have a team like Alabama who did in fact lose. So that, and as time goes on, I certainly don't think this is how things will end up, but I think it's like a snapshot right now. I feel good about how these rankings shape up. So, and Tyler, let me ask you this: what does Florida State have to do to get to the top 10?
Listen, I know that they're a good team, and this is semantics at this point. I'm just doing it just to piss off Brooke. So realistically, they're a top 5 team.
Color me shocked.
I just do it just to piss Brooke off. But I also do think that, like, if I were to put Florida State in there, which they should be in there, I would definitely drop Ohio State out. I do think that Oregon State is a top 10 team. And I think if Oregon State and Ohio State went head to head, I think Oregon State wins that pretty easily.
I agree.
They just show
that.
more. Like, their team just is playing a lot better than Ohio State does. So yeah, obviously I agree that Florida State should be in the top 5, but again, I'm just being a fucker. So
I respect your commitment, to be honest.
Just pencil me in for never having Florida State in my top 10.
I just want the truth on the record.
Does it make you feel any worse that decision led to Texas being ranked number 3 in our, combined rankings?
No, because that's where I have them. I think that's where they should be.
Yeah, I guess that was a silly question because you actually did put Texas at 3.
Yep.
Okay, that's fair. And then, did you have any issues with Oregon barely beating a Big 12 team? Because I was told last week that the Big 12 stinks.
They do.
No, I don't, because that was their home opener, right?
Yep.
Yeah. No, I don't. Coming off, and I think we talked about it a little bit last week. Like, they were coming off of a tough loss against Wyoming, overtime loss, a game that they should have won. They kind of pissed it down their legs. I think they came out a little more juiced because it was what were they ranked? A top 10 or top 15 team coming in. Like, you get up for those games, at least decent teams do, unlike Nebraska in past years. So I don't see that as an issue. I think it was a great game. Oregon did leave a lot on the field, I think, but I think they're still a solid team.
Well, I think then if we're giving Oregon credit, then we need to rank Wyoming for beating Texas Tech. Since the Big 12 is so good that Wyoming can beat them, they got to get a look at the top 10, maybe.
Sure.
Well,
why not?
We'll circle back for sure.
Anything's out there, yeah. What did they do last week? Did they lose last week?
No shot. If they beat the juggernaut like the Big 10 or the Big 12, no shot they lost.
You are just being quite the fucker today, huh? No, they beat.
I'm keeping the theme of our show.
They beat Portland State.
Well, all right.
But
Well,
Wyoming, if Wyoming knocks off Texas this week,
yeah,
might
as
have
a
an argument.
30-point dog. I bet
I mean, how
Listen, it's
funny
all
would that
possible.
be? Like, just take a step back. How
Listen.
funny would that be?
I would talk shit about the Big 12 until the day I die if that happens.
That would be. It's less funny of a scenario to me now. now that I know what the reaction would be. Yeah, you know what? Not as funny. Not as funny. But we do have some opportunities to put our, put some stuff in writing here. Just granted, the college football slate is ass cheeks this week, so we threw in a couple of NFL games there at the end just to fill out the slate. But first of all,
Tyler,
we do have.
Congrats on that 12-9 record there, buddy. Good picks.
That's you. Sorry.
Oh,
you might
sorry.
be mistaken.
Shoot. Crap. I got confused.
Hey, I'm nipping on your heels, both Brandon and I, right there.
But first of all, LSU and Mississippi State. Would also like to mention Mississippi State fans have been very mean to me this offseason, so I'm going to absolutely pick against them every chance I get. And God help all those folks in my mentions who, if they do go winless in the conference, I don't think they will. I admit I got that wrong, but watch out.
Brandon might not be able to show his face if Mississippi State wins this game.
I mean, that tweet was a really clean ratio. It had like 20 replies and 0 likes. It was really efficient. I got to give them that. But even at home, I still like LSU despite what Florida State made them look like, especially in the SEC. That doesn't look very good. Yeah, you can give me the Tigers.
I think.
Well, do you want me to go first?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think.
All right. All right. So let me walk you through my mindset here. So I want LSU to lose so bad, just to make the Florida State win look even worse. And I don't think that they're a very good team in terms of being a top 5 team to start the season. But I do think LSU beats Mississippi State at home. I think that's a no-brainer.
I think this game is very close. It comes down to the wire. I think it's a 1-possession game. Maybe a field goal is the difference. But I think LSU just... the quarterback plays the difference for me in the end.
Brooke's taking my picks. That's crazy.
And this one I'm pretty juiced for. Former Big 12 matchup, Kansas State versus SEC juggernaut. I'm taking Kansas State on the road. I think the SEC is bad, and I'm a Big 12 homer, so they'll give me their Wildcats.
Yeah, a lot of people are predicting an upset here. I see why, I guess, just because they're home and they're an SEC team. But I think this is Kansas State's statement game for this year to show people that they are actually real. So I'm going to go ahead and take Kansas State as well.
Fuck what you heard. It's the Missouri Tigers all day Saturday.
And I'm so glad, Tyler, we're going to get a game up on Brooke here. We're going to be back. I'm so glad. This is fantastic. Minnesota, North Carolina, I think one of just very few non-conference Power 5 matchups here. I really, my soul needs Minnesota to win just to make that Nebraska loss feel a little bit better. I really need Minnesota to put up 50 points in that process. However, I don't think it's happening. I think the Tar Heels win pretty comfortably here.
Yeah, I've been very high on North Carolina all year. I've been stuck on Drake May's meat stick so far this year. Yes, sure. They had a terrible game last week against Appalachian State, but they always seem to kind of play each other tough. I'm going with North Carolina.
Yeah, definitely in-state rivalry with Appalachian State. They should have lost last year, but both times they hang on in overtime, sneaking off by the seat of their pants. This one's a weird one for me. Minnesota having a really good defense and not a great offense, and North Carolina having a really great offense and not a good defense. This could be like a sneaky close one, but too much Drake May in the end in my mind.
Good pick.
Washington, Michigan State, admittedly, at the beginning of the season, this felt like a much more enticing matchup, especially with it being in East Lansing. But without Midnight Mel running the show, and all just the buzz around what's happening there. I mean, I think it's Washington by 1,000,000.
I mean, you could bring back that team that went to the CFP for Michigan State, and it would not help them in this game.
So true.
Yeah, I'm taking Washington. That's pretty easy with all the turmoil that they're going through right now. I think that's a pretty easy choice.
And also, Washington's really good. So,
yes.
I mean, even, like Brooke said, even Michigan State at their best. I don't know.
Also, Oklahoma State played Arizona State.
No, dang it. I was going to take Oklahoma State and give an exact score prediction.
Yeah. It's South Alabama. Right. They play South Alabama.
God, that's such a shame.
It's
Oklahoma State's at home.
Yeah, it's a 7-point spread.
We're not picking that game here. I'll pick a different one. Tennessee and Florida, SEC matchup. Does Florida get their first? No, I think they won last week.
I think so, yes.
But my gosh, they are bad.
I'll go first. Tennessee by 1,000,000. Florida sucks.
I agree.
You guys picked Tennessee?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's a pretty.
UTEP, Arizona.
Arizona by 2,000,000.
Whoa. Okay.
All right. Pitt and West Virginia, the backyard brawl. We're back at it. Rivalry game in Mountain and Morgantown. There it is. Who do you guys like?
I like West Virginia here. They looked really good week 1 against Penn State. Why are you rolling your eyes?
Because stealing my picks.
I mean, you didn't even say anything.
Wow.
Jeez. I'm going to be stuck with this narrative the rest of the day.
Yeah, you are. West Virginia looked a lot better than I thought they would against Penn State. And conversely, Pitt losing to Cincinnati at home. Rivalry game. Give me the home team, West Va.
I mean, you know me. I'm a Big 12 propagandist through and through. But I think Pitt's the better team. I think Neil Brown's on the way out of West Virginia. If I were to pick West Virginia, it would be because he's playing for his job. But I think Pitt pulls it off.
Interesting.
Colorado and Colorado State. How funny would this be? I would be so happy. Also, Colorado's at home.
Word out of campus, Colorado's feeling disrespected again, so give me the Buffalo.
Fucking disgusting is that? I mean, I'm right there with you, but is this going to be the case every single week for the rest of the?
And anytime where they're on our pick sheet, I'm just going to say that they're feeling disrespected. Give me Colorado.
Yeah, I mean, this is a pretty easy one. They look really good, and if they have to feel disrespected to get up for these games and go for it, I mean, if it helps them win, then I'm all for it. Maybe Nebraska should feel a little more disrespected. Maybe that turns some tides, but Colorado in a pretty easy game.
And now, like I said, I ran out of good games to throw on the sheet here for college football. So we'll kind of dive in. Matchup of the Alabama quarterbacks, Mac Jones and Tua Tagovailoa. Who do you guys like here?
Go ahead, Tyler.
The Dolphins looked great last week. High-flying offense against the Chargers. Historically, a choke artist of a team. The Patriots did not look good until the fourth quarter when their defense really started to step up and Mac Jones started finding Kendrick Bourne all over the place. This is a hard one for me, but I heard that the Patriots just built a new lighthouse that's really big and really cool. So give me the Patriots at home.
I don't hate that pick. Like you said, everybody's really low on the Patriots and high on the Dolphins. But I can't get behind that offense enough to pick them just because they were so bad and they had so many opportunities to win at home last week. Give me the Dolphins.
I'll tell you what, though, Tyreek Hill is not getting 215 yards receiving.
No, I don't think so either.
Okay, but even like half of that is still
yes,
I think good enough to keep Mac Jones at bay. I'm taking the Dolphins as well. Even if Tua doesn't throw for 700 yards or whatever that was, I I think they have the better quarterback. I think they have the better wide receiver, number one. And I like Mike McDaniel as the coach a lot to kind of eat that gap between him and Belichick. So give me the Dolphins.
This game, Chiefs Jaguars.
Yeah, real barn burner here. Really kind of a boring game.
Yeah, our in-house Chiefs expert, he's been telling me that the Jaguars are going to win this game. I find it hard pressed to bet against a man that knows his team. I'm going with the Jaguars at home.
Now that I said that, I gotta drop a stat on you. The teams that have won the Super Bowl the last 25 years have never started 0-2. 12 of them have went 2-0. 13 of them have been 1-1. So, with that being said, I'm riding with my boys. Give me the Chiefs.
That's definitely a smart pick, and I think that they do win this game. But I'm just going
I
off
wouldn't
what
be
my
shocked.
expert told me.
I don't feel good about it.
Yeah, but I'm right there with you. It feels much more likely that they win on the road in Jacksonville than they go 0-2. And now,
Can we talk about how? Sorry, go ahead.
It does feel silly to factor in what happened last week and that result, but that's just how my brain works. I think they're due for a win.
Yeah, I just want to talk about how good the Jags looked. Yeah, they're playing the Colts, but their offense looked awesome with Calvin Ridley out there. Is it going to be enough to beat the Chiefs? Probably not. But they do look like a lot better of an offensive team with Calvin Ridley on the field.
Absolutely.
I had a dream that Calvin Ridley was on the waiver wire last night.
Oof.
Oh, how nice would that be?
I mean, it'd be crazy. Commanders Broncos. This one's gonna be pretty high flying. I'm pretty.
This is where Brooke just stabs me right in the fucking back.
Yeah. I know he's not gonna like what I have to say, but I think Russ is back. Sean Payton's not going 2-0. I don't know what the stats say, how many times he's gone 0-2, but it's not happening this year.
I would like to go first. Or second here before Tyler goes. I think the Broncos suck. They're a poverty franchise.
Uh-huh.
And with all that being said, give me the Broncos.
Hey. I'm also taking the Broncos. No shot. I bet against
Shocker, you're going to ride Brooke.
Yeah, hell yeah. Here we go.
Get one opportunity to show that you're one opportunity to fade him, and still decide.
I'm surprised neither of you took the emotional hedge there and took the Commanders.
I wouldn't put any money on the Chiefs to win, to lose, but admittedly, emotionally, I'm more emotional about the number at the bottom than how we get there. So
yeah. Also, Nebraska is at home for this game against Northern Illinois.
Right. 5 o'clock somewhere.
All right. So I'll start us here because Brooke's going to be the one to pick the score here. Give me Nebraska again. I mean, it just feels so unlikely that they start 0-3. Granted, I also thought the same thing when they had Scott Frost year one, and I was very wrong about how long that losing streak could go to start the year. But I think the defense is just so good, and we've seen Iowa just win on defense before and actually beat good teams at it. So I think that this, even if the offense is still not very productive, I think the bar is pretty low. Tyler?
I agree. This is a big game for the boys. Again, home opener. There's going to be a lot of juice in that stadium. People are going to be pumped up. Yeah, we're going in 0-2, but pumped up for the first Matt Rule game at home. I think we're going to just show some things that look good. Maybe sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit. Today they're going to be good. Give me Nebraska.
And Brooke, this is week 3. You're the only person who's ever picked anyone but Nebraska.
Yeah, because he's a piece of garbage, dude.
But I mean, he was right. Frankly, if we had all picked against Nebraska, we'd all have a lot better numbers at the bottom there. So hats off to him. Are you going to keep it going, or are you back on the good side?
Listen, financially and in my gut, something tells me that we're going to lose. And now that I'm sitting here thinking about it, unless we turn the ball over 4 times, I don't think Northern Illinois finds the end zone more than once. So give me Nebraska. and give me 20-10 Skurs.
Disgusting. What an ugly football game that would be. But it's a win. A win's a win.
A win's a win's a win.
Let's see here. So I feel pretty good about this slate so far. If there was one I felt uneasy about, other than the NFL picks, it would be Pittsburgh. But otherwise, I think we have a pretty good slate here because we talked about Nebraska needing to make hay while the sun's out and feast on these non-conference teams. I think these are the kind of slates that we got to feast on too. I mean, before we get deep into conference play.
The one that I absolutely hate the most that I picked is the Dolphins, because after week 1, everything in my stomach tells me to go take out a mortgage and put it on Miami. And usually when I get those feelings, it means go the other way. So
that's true. And I do think that they take a pretty big step back, but I also think the gap is big enough to still clear the Patriots.
True.
So
I'm going 11-0 this week.
I'd be pretty good.
I see at least 5 losses.
I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do.
Well, perfect, fellas. That's all I had for the week. Anything else you'd like to add before we wrap up for week 3?
I just want everybody to know that I love Brooke, even though he's a fucker. I still ride with my boy Brooke, even though he fades me any chance he gets.
That's not true.
At least somebody's making money.
At least somebody's making money. Speaking of making money, we got Brooke on the channel as well. Brooke, the only one in positive figures, so congrats to him. We also got Go Big 12 or Go Home, my Big 12 propaganda show. Brooke despises with every bit of his being.
You better never ever take calls, because I'm going to call in as Mary from North Dakota and tell you how much you suck.
That's fair. I mean,
imagine that.
And I yeah, you know what? It is what it is. You can have differing opinions without, But anything else you guys would like to add before we wrap up?
I think that's it for me.